It started one night in early November when the wind outside howled like a dying animal and the old branches clawed at the window panes. Erin sat alone in her dimly lit living room, the soft hum of the television barely enough to drown out the storm outside. She had just moved into the house a month prior, a creaky, weather-beaten structure at the end of a long, desolate road. The house had character, the real estate agent had said. Erin thought it had something more sinister. At exactly 1:13 a.m., there was a knock at the door. 3 sharp, deliberate knocks. Erin froze, the remote slipping from her hand. She glanced at the clock again, just to be sure she hadn't imagined the time. 1:13 a.m. Who would be knocking at her door in the middle of the night during a storm? Cautiously, she approached the front door, her bare feet cold against the hardwood floor. She hesitated for a moment, peering through the peephole. No one. She waited, heart pounding, but the knocking didn't come again. After a few minutes, she turned the bolt and locked the door tightly, convincing herself it was probably the wind or maybe a branch hitting the doorframe. But something felt off. The following night, at precisely 1:13 a.m., the knocks returned. 3 raps, exactly like before. Sharp, intentionally spaced. This time, Erin didn't approach the door. She stayed rooted on the couch, gripping the armrest tightly, her breathing shallow. She glanced at the peephole from where she sat. Still no shadow, no silhouette, no sound of footsteps outside. Her phone was next to her. She considered calling someone. The police? But what would she say? That someone knocked twice at her door, then vanished into the night? By morning, she chalked it up to kids, maybe a prank. She brushed it off until she spoke to her neighbor, Mrs. Calloway, an elderly woman who lived 2 houses down. "Did you hear knocking last night?" Erin asked, trying to sound casual. Mrs. Calloway's face drained of color. She hesitated, eyes flicking toward Erin's house. "It knocked?" she whispered, almost too quietly to hear. Erin frowned. "Yes, around 1 in the morning." Mrs. Calloway reached out, clutching Erin's arm tightly. Her voice dropped to a trembling murmur. "Don't answer the 3rd knock." Erin blinked, confused. "What?" Mrs. Calloway only shook her head, refusing to say more. She turned and walked away, leaving Erin standing in her driveway, an unsettling chill crawling down her spine. That night, Erin barely slept. She kept every light on in the house, sitting upright on her bed with her phone in her lap. Midnight passed. 12:30, 1 a.m. At exactly 1:13 a.m., the knocking came again. 3 slow, rhythmic knocks. She didn't move, her eyes fixated on the door, waiting for something, anything, to appear. But there was nothing visible through the peephole, no sound of retreating footsteps. Just silence, heavy and suffocating. Her heart was racing, sweat prickling on her skin. Mrs. Calloway's words echoed in her mind. Don't answer the 3rd knock. For the next few days, Erin obsessed. She scoured the internet for stories of midnight knockers, urban legends, anything that could explain what was happening. But there was nothing specific, just vague warnings about not letting certain entities in, never inviting them across the threshold. That Friday evening, she visited Mrs. Calloway again, desperate for answers. The old woman answered the door reluctantly, her eyes wary. "You said, never answer the 3rd knock," Erin said. "Why?" Mrs. Calloway hesitated, glancing nervously up and down the street before pulling Erin inside. "It's not a person," she said quietly. "No one ever sees who knocks. But I've lived here long enough to know. It always starts with 3 knocks. First night, it's testing you. Second night, it's watching. Third night, if you open the door, it comes inside." Her voice broke slightly. "My sister answered the 3rd knock 40 years ago. She vanished. No trace. Gone." Erin's blood ran cold. She tried to brush it off as superstition, but deep down, something primal told her Mrs. Calloway wasn't lying. That night was the 4th night. Erin barricaded her front door, dragging furniture in front of it, locking every window. She stayed awake, armed with a flashlight and a kitchen knife, eyes darting between the clock and the door. 1:13 a.m. came and passed. No knock. She exhaled, relieved. But then, at 1:17 a.m., the sound echoed through the house. This time, not from the front door, but from the back. 3 knocks. Calm. Measured. On the back door. Her stomach twisted. How could it move? She sat frozen, every instinct screaming at her to stay where she was. Minutes dragged by. She stared at the back door, waiting for something to happen. Then came the unmistakable sound, slow, deliberate footsteps walking around the house. The knocks came again, this time from the living room window. 3 knocks. Always 3. She backed away, pulse pounding in her ears. Every door was locked, every window sealed, yet the knocking moved, shifting locations as if circling her, testing every barrier. And then, silence. The next day, Erin packed her bags. She didn't care about the lease, the deposit, any of it. She planned to leave town, get away, find a hotel, and never return. But that afternoon, as she was loading her car, she noticed something. On the front door, just beneath the peephole, were 3 faint marks, like elongated fingerprints burned into the wood. She ran her fingers over them. They were cold to the touch, the surface slightly blackened, as if something had seared the pattern there. A creeping sense of dread coiled around her chest. Erin spent the night at a motel 10 miles away. She double-locked the door, drew the blinds, left the TV on for noise. Sleep came in brief, restless bursts. At exactly 1:13 a.m., she awoke suddenly. Her heart sank as the sound echoed faintly through the thin motel walls. 3 knocks. Not at her door, but somewhere close in the hallway. She pulled the covers tightly around herself, barely breathing. Minutes passed. No more sounds. Morning couldn't come fast enough. Erin called her parents, friends, anyone she could stay with. She needed to be around people, in a place where no one knocked in the night. She drove out of town without looking back, promising herself